Emergency truck front axle repair. The terrifying reality of roadside fixes that could kill you. Imagine this. You're cruising down the interstate, kids asleep in the back seat, when suddenly you see a massive truck swerving ahead of you. The driver is fighting for control, sparks flying from underneath as metal scrapes against asphalt. What you're witnessing is a front axle failure, one of the most catastrophic mechanical breakdowns that can happen to a commercial truck. But here's what's going to shock you even more than the accident itself. The emergency repair that happens next, often right there on the side of the road or in makeshift workshops, is sometimes more dangerous than the original failure. Right now, at this very moment, there are trucks driving past you on the highway with front axles that were welded back together using methods that would make any engineer's hair stand on fire. No computer diagnostics, no precision equipment, just desperate men with blowtorches and hope. What you're about to discover will make you think twice every time you see a semi-truck in your rearview mirror, and it might just save your life or the lives of people you love. In the remote highways stretching across Punjab, Pakistan, where temperatures soar above 110 degrees and help can be hours away, truck drivers face a nightmare scenario that happens more often than anyone wants to admit. A front axle cracks, bends, or breaks completely, leaving a fully loaded truck stranded in the middle of nowhere. In developed countries, this means calling a tow truck, transporting the vehicle to a certified repair facility, and replacing the damaged axle with a new one that meets strict safety standards. But in places like Pakistan, India, rural Brazil, and parts of Southeast Asia, a completely different reality unfolds. Workers like Tariq, Ricardo, and Deepak arrive at the scene with nothing but a portable welding machine, some metal rods, a hammer, and decades of experience. They're about to perform what amounts to surgery on a critical structural component, except they're doing it in the dirt, under the blazing sun, with vehicles rushing past just feet away. The question nobody wants to answer is this: would you trust your family's safety to a repair done under these conditions? Because chances are, you already do without even knowing it. The front axle of a truck isn't just any component. It's the literal foundation that keeps tons of rolling metal connected to the wheels that steer and stop it. When an axle fails, it's usually because of metal fatigue from years of carrying extreme loads over terrible roads, hitting potholes at high speed, or from a previous repair that was done incorrectly. The failure often starts as a small crack that grows over time, invisible to the naked eye, spreading through the metal like a disease until one day, under stress, the entire structure gives way. Tariq has seen it all. Axles snapped completely in half, housings cracked open like eggshells, spindles sheared off at the base. Each failure tells a story of overloading, poor maintenance, and economics that force trucks to keep running long past their safe service life. When he arrives at a breakdown site, he walks around the damaged truck slowly, examining the failure with eyes that have analyzed thousands of broken parts. He knows immediately how bad it is, what needs to be done, and whether it's even possible to fix it there on the roadside. Where are you watching this video from, and what's your name? Here's where things get absolutely wild. Tariq pulls out his portable welding machine, which is basically a small generator connected to a welding torch. This isn't the sophisticated equipment you'd find in a proper workshop. This is bare-bones technology that works but just barely. He positions himself under the truck, lying on his back in the dirt, with the damaged axle above his face. There's no lift, no proper lighting, no ventilation. Just him, the broken metal, and a determination to get this truck moving again. Ricardo, his assistant, hands him the welding rod and flips the switch on the generator. The arc strikes, blindingly bright in the harsh sunlight, and molten metal begins to flow. But here's the terrifying part. Front axles are made from specialized steel alloys that require specific welding techniques, precise temperatures, and controlled cooling to maintain their structural integrity. Welding them incorrectly can actually make them weaker than before, creating a repair that looks solid but is actually a time bomb waiting to explode under stress. The conditions make everything exponentially more dangerous. Sand blows into the weld area, contaminating the molten metal. The heat of the sun makes it nearly impossible to control cooling rates. Passing trucks create vibrations that can disturb the welding process. Tariq works without a proper welding helmet, just a handheld shield that he moves aside constantly to see what he's doing, exposing his eyes to harmful UV radiation. The fumes from the welding rise directly into his face, and he breathes them in with every breath. His arms are covered in burn scars from years of molten metal droplets landing on his skin. But he continues, laying bead after bead of weld metal, building up the damaged area, trying to restore strength to a component that was engineered in a factory with million-dollar equipment and computer precision. It's like trying to perform heart surgery with a kitchen knife, except the patient is a 40-ton truck that will be back on the highway in a few hours, sharing the road with families in minivans. If what you're learning here is opening your eyes to dangers you never knew existed, I need you to do something right now. Hit that like button and smash that subscribe button, because we're bringing you real investigations into the hidden world of roadside repairs and emergency fixes that affect your safety every single day. Turn on notifications so you never miss an episode and share this video with everyone you know. Truck drivers, mechanics, regular people who use the roads need to see this truth. Your support helps us continue exposing these critical safety issues that mainstream media completely ignores. After the welding is complete, the real test begins. Deepak, who has been preparing for this moment, brings over a massive sledgehammer. You read that right, a sledgehammer. This is how they test the weld strength. He swings with all his force, hitting the repaired area again and again, watching for cracks, listening for the sound of solid metal versus compromised metal. If the weld holds up to this brutal hammering, it's considered good enough. If it cracks, they weld it again. There's no X-ray inspection to check for internal defects, no ultrasonic testing to find hidden flaws, no stress analysis to verify it can handle operational loads. The entire quality control process is 3 guys looking at it, hitting it with a hammer and saying, "Looks good enough." Now picture this repaired axle back on the highway, carrying 15 tons of cargo, traveling at 60 miles per hour with cars full of families all around it. Feel comfortable yet? The economics driving this whole system are brutal and unforgiving. A new front axle assembly for a commercial truck can cost anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000, depending on the make and model. That's money most independent truckers and small transport companies simply don't have. An emergency roadside repair like the one Tariq performs costs maybe $200 to $500, including his labor and materials. For a truck owner barely making enough to cover fuel and payments, it's not really a choice. It's either pay for the cheap repair and keep the truck working or go bankrupt. The system is designed to force people into these dangerous compromises. Nobody wants to drive on unsafe repairs, but economic survival doesn't leave room for ideal solutions. But the consequences of these repairs extend far beyond just the individual truck. Statistics from traffic safety organizations in Pakistan, India, and similar regions show that mechanical failure is a leading cause of serious truck accidents. Wheels separating from vehicles at highway speeds, trucks losing steering control, catastrophic breakdowns in traffic. Many of these incidents trace back to improper repairs of critical components like front axles. But here's the problem. After an accident, especially a fatal one, there's rarely a thorough investigation into the mechanical cause. The truck is often too damaged, the evidence is destroyed, and authorities don't have the resources or expertise to conduct detailed failure analysis. So the same dangerous repair practices continue, the same risks persist, and more people die in accidents that could have been prevented. The skill of these roadside mechanics shouldn't be dismissed, though. What Tariq, Ricardo, and Deepak can accomplish with minimal tools is genuinely impressive from a pure craftsmanship perspective. They can diagnose complex mechanical problems by sound and feel. They can weld in positions that would challenge certified welders. They can fabricate replacement parts from scrap metal using nothing but a grinder and a torch. In a different context, with proper equipment and training, these men could be master technicians earning good money in professional facilities. But instead, they're forced to work in conditions that compromise both their safety and the quality of their work. Their skills are being exploited by an economic system that values cheap fixes over safe solutions. Let's talk about what happens after the repair is done and the truck gets back on the road. The driver climbs into his cab, fires up the engine, and pulls back onto the highway. For the first few miles, everything seems fine. The steering feels normal, the truck tracks straight, no unusual sounds. But here's what's actually happening. That welded axle is now a different material than it was originally. The heat from welding has changed the metal structure. Some areas are now harder and more brittle, while others are softer and more prone to deformation. The weld itself, if done improperly, might contain microscopic cracks, air pockets, or contamination that weakens it. As the truck rolls down the road, every bump, every turn, every application of the brakes puts stress on this repaired component. Those microscopic defects begin to grow, spreading through the metal grain by grain, invisible to anyone looking at it from the outside. Here's a scenario that plays out more often than you'd think. 2 weeks after the repair, the truck is making a delivery run through mountainous terrain. The driver starts down a steep grade, fully loaded, using the brakes to control speed. The front axle, already compromised, begins to heat up from the stress. The repaired area, which has different thermal expansion properties than the original metal, starts to develop new cracks. Suddenly, without warning, the axle fails completely. The right front wheel assembly separates from the truck. The driver loses all steering control. The truck veers across lanes, the driver desperately trying to do anything, but it's too late. The vehicle crashes through a guardrail and tumbles down an embankment. The driver might survive or he might not. But here's the tragic part. This accident was completely preventable. With proper repair techniques, quality materials, and adequate inspection, that axle would have held. Instead, economic pressure and lack of alternatives created a death trap on wheels. The environmental aspect of these roadside repairs also deserves attention. Welding releases toxic fumes containing manganese, chromium, and other heavy metals. When done in a proper shop, these fumes are captured by ventilation systems and filtered before being released. But roadside repairs happen wherever the truck broke down, next to rivers, near villages, and areas where children play. Those toxic fumes drift into the air, settling on the ground, contaminating water sources. The workers breathe them directly, suffering long-term health consequences. Tariq, who's been doing this work for 30 years, has respiratory problems that keep him awake at night. Ricardo's hands shake constantly from nerve damage caused by years of exposure to welding radiation and metal fumes. Deepak, the youngest of the three, already shows signs of the health problems that will plague him for the rest of his life. But they have no choice. This is the only work they know, the only way they can feed their families. Let's compare this to how the same repair would happen in a country with strict regulations and enforcement. A truck with a damaged front axle in the United States or Germany would be immediately taken off the road. It would be transported to a certified repair facility on a flatbed truck. Technicians would conduct a thorough inspection using diagnostic equipment. If the axle could be repaired, they'd use precise welding techniques with certified materials, proper preheating and post-heating procedures, and controlled cooling rates. The repair would then be inspected using X-ray or ultrasonic testing to verify internal quality. Finally, the repaired component would be tested under load conditions before the truck was allowed back into service. The entire process might take days and cost thousands of dollars, but the result would be a repair that's actually safe. The truck owner would have documentation proving the work was done correctly, insurance would cover most of the cost, and everyone involved would have confidence in the repair's integrity. But the global economy doesn't operate in neat separate boxes. Trucks repaired in Pakistan carry goods that end up on ships heading to Europe and America. Drivers trained in regions with minimal safety standards end up working in countries with strict regulations. Parts manufactured in unregulated facilities get mixed into supply chains with legitimate components. A truck that was repaired roadside in Punjab might eventually be sold and exported, ending up on roads in Africa, the Middle East, or Latin America. The problem is global, interconnected, and incredibly difficult to solve through regulation alone. What's needed is a fundamental shift in how we think about safety, quality, and the true cost of transportation. Here's what really frustrates me about this entire situation. The technology and knowledge exist to make these repairs safer, even in roadside emergency situations. Portable testing equipment that could verify weld quality costs a few $100s. Proper welding helmets with auto-darkening lenses cost less than $50. Training programs could teach proper welding techniques for critical components in a matter of weeks. The total investment to upgrade these roadside repair operations to a minimally acceptable safety standard would be surprisingly modest. But nobody is making that investment because there's no immediate profit in it, no competitive advantage, no regulatory requirement forcing it to happen. And so the cycle continues. Trucks break down, desperate repairs are made, unsafe vehicles return to the roads, accidents happen, and everyone acts surprised that something went wrong. The human cost is what keeps me coming back to stories like this. Behind every improperly repaired front axle is a truck driver who's someone's father, brother, or son. Behind every accident caused by mechanical failure are innocent victims who were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And behind every roadside mechanic like Tariq is a skilled worker whose health and safety are being sacrificed for economic efficiency. These aren't abstract statistics or theoretical risks. These are real people whose lives are affected every single day by the decisions we collectively make about how products are manufactured, how services are delivered, and what level of risk we're willing to accept in the name of keeping costs low. What can actually be done about this? Education is part of the answer. Truck drivers need to understand the risks of improper repairs so they can make informed decisions. Mechanics need access to proper training and information about safe repair techniques. Consumers need to recognize that the incredibly cheap shipping costs they enjoy come with hidden costs and human suffering and safety risks. But education alone isn't enough. Economic incentives need to change. Insurance companies could offer better rates for trucks with documented proper maintenance and repairs. Governments could provide subsidies or low-interest loans to help truck owners afford proper repairs instead of desperate roadside fixes. Industry associations could develop and promote minimum standards for emergency repairs, creating a middle ground between ideal factory conditions and completely unregulated roadside work. International cooperation also plays a role. Organizations like the World Health Organization and the International Labor Organization have developed guidelines for workplace safety that apply to roadside mechanics. But these guidelines are often ignored because there's no enforcement mechanism, no one checking whether they're being followed. International trade agreements could include provisions requiring minimum safety standards for workers involved in producing or maintaining goods that enter global commerce. It wouldn't solve everything overnight, but it would create pressure for gradual improvement instead of the current race to the bottom where the cheapest solution always wins regardless of safety. As we close out this deep dive into emergency truck axle repairs, I want you to carry this knowledge with you. The next time you're driving on the highway and a big truck passes you, remember that its front axle might have been welded back together on the side of the road by someone with minimal equipment and no safety oversight. That's not meant to make you paranoid, but to make you aware. Awareness leads to demand for change. When enough people understand these issues, when enough consumers ask questions about the hidden costs of cheap transportation, when enough voters pressure their representatives to address these safety concerns, that's when change becomes possible. We all have a role to play in creating a transportation system that doesn't require people to risk their lives or accept unsafe conditions just to keep goods moving. In our next video, we're going to investigate another critical repair that's being done in shocking conditions, affecting vehicle safety in ways you never imagined. The things we uncovered will make today's story seem tame by comparison. Make sure you're subscribed because this series is exposing truths that need to be seen by everyone who uses the roads. Until next time, stay alert out there, ask questions about where your products come from and how they're maintained, and remember that safety isn't expensive, it's priceless. Every truck on the road is someone's livelihood, and every vehicle sharing that road deserves to be safe. The only way we get there is by demanding better, supporting ethical practices, and refusing to accept dangerous shortcuts as the normal way of doing business. Top SEO keywords: emergency truck axle repair, front axle welding dangers, roadside truck repairs, commercial vehicle safety, Pakistan truck mechanics, dangerous repair methods, axle failure causes, trucking industry safety, improper vehicle repairs, truck accident prevention.